Hello, and welcome to Sunchaser. My name is Avinal, and Sunchaser is my project where I try to chase that which makes us wiser, healthier, and wealthier.
This time we are talking about the book that I have gifted the most to friends and family, The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Published in 2018, it is a powerful, jam-packed book about how you can take charge of your life by taking charge of your mornings. Robin Sharma, as you will know, is an internationally acclaimed author, performance coach. He has written many books that have sold widely, such as The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, Who Will Cry When You Die, and of course, my personal favorite, this book, The 5 a.m. Club. This book is actually a self help book, but it is told in the form of a story of three people: an entrepreneur who is a disillusioned entrepreneur struggling with a hostile takeover attempt of her company by her investors. The second person in the story is the artist, who is a talented but unfocused artist yearning to reach his full potential and express his creativity, create original work. And the third person in the story is Mr. Riley, a wise billionaire who mentors the entrepreneur and the artist, guiding them through the principles of the 5 a.m. Club. The artist and the entrepreneur meet Mr. Riley, the billionaire, in a conference. It is a self help conference, a productivity conference, and both the entrepreneur and the artist happen to be sitting on the same table when Mr. Riley approaches them. Mr. Riley initially does not seem very impressive because he is literally dressed like a homeless person. And when he invites the artist and the entrepreneur to spend a few days with him and fly in his private jet and spend time in his private estate in Mauritius, understandably, both the artist and the entrepreneur are a little skeptical and think that the homeless man that they're seeing is cuckoo. But they still decide to take up the homeless man on his offer and join him for a few days learning about the principles and concepts of the 5 a.m. Club that will supposedly change their lives. And so the story begins. The core ideas in the story start with Sharma talking about the problem today. The author talks about how a fixed mindset is prevalent in too many people. Far too many believe genius is born and not made. And if one believes in such a way, it tends to become a self fulfilling prophecy, you see, because, quote, human beings are hardwired to act in alignment with our self identity, always. You'll never rise higher than your personal story, end quote. And the part of the problem is the culture of limitation and fear that we are all indoctrinated into early childhood. Well meaning people, such as our parents and our teachers, in coaching us about staying within limits and avoiding risk, harm us over the long term by seeding limiting beliefs. Robin Sharma posits that every human has a primal desire to create. And if we do not honor the creator in us, that it comes back to bite us. Gifts unused become regrets lifelong, or like Jesus said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. If you want to learn more about the differences between a fixed and growth mindset, please refer to my Lessons from Mindset by Carol Dweck. Anyway, continuing with the core ideas, our world today is also not helping our situation. It is focused on incessant consumption far beyond necessary, and in this way is insidiously making us miserable. Social media and modern news are designed to keep us hooked to a cycle of fear or desire, which is fear by another name. And so too are our capitalistic structures that promote marketing that shows people with perfect lives and thus make us feel lacking. This results in things like yearly upgrade cycles and wardrobe makeovers. If you want to learn more about how the modern world is brainwashing us and how you could reclaim your brain, please refer to my Lessons from Brainwash by David Perlmutter. Anyway, there is a neuroscience component to all of this that the author touches on. He calls the amygdala and the limbic system our ancient brain and the prefrontal cortex our mastery brain. The modern world is designed to keep our ancient brain with its strong negativity bias on high alert and therefore keep us chronically stressed. The ancient brain did evolve before the mastery brain and thus has a leg up on how it affects us. Therefore, it takes effort and a consciously cultivated environment to operate from our mastery brain, something that the modern world denies us. The world hijacks our focus for its own ends, that the author calls broken focus syndrome. And over time, as we become hostage to the latest fear cycle, we learn how to be victims. The author calls this learned victimhood. We let go of our agency and start to believe that greatness is not for us, that the world is full of conspirators, and we start to coast in life and we become cynical. Far too many people living in a fixed mindset. And he points out how the first limitation is always in our own mind. No matter what the subject and no matter how looming the challenge is, as long as the person refuses to believe that there exist any impenetrable walls between them and their goal, they will not truly be defeated. The author highlights how lasting defeat first begins in the mind and then manifests in reality. So, in this way, he is basically saying that all of this, all of the challenges that you feel, all of the negativity that you feel is really a mental game. And if it is a mental game, it means that you have far more control over it than you think you do. And to start to fix things, the first thing that you have to improve is your relationship with yourself. Once your relationship with yourself improves, your life improves as a result. Like I said before, the author points out that far too many people living today don't think much of themselves. They live in a state of perpetual underconfidence. They secretly hate and fear their true selves, becoming miserable in the process because they know that they're not doing justice to the creator in them in the finite time that they have. And so they hide their creative spirit from themselves and the world behind doctored selfies and facades of confidence. They confuse self-worth with net worth. They do not take a shot at opportunities thinking that only the superbly talented or rich can have a claim to their dreams. They operate, like I said, from a fixed mindset and remain in the Venus flytrap of their egos, never realizing their potential. So this is the problem today. And Robin Sharma says that the 5 a.m. club and the principles and practices that you're about to learn are an entry point, if you will, to try and break out of our trance and build a life that is intentional and one that we are truly proud of. So, how do you fix all of this? How do you fix the problems that Sharma points to? The solution, as on the cover of the book, is getting up at 5 a.m. The antidote to the traps of the modern world starts by getting up at 5 a.m. Why 5 a.m.? Because this is a time when you can think and reflect before the world shows up banging at your door. And also, what we do in the initial hours of our day has an outsized impact on the rest of it. It sort of sets the tone for the rest of our day. And hence, it makes sense for us to only do those things that give us a strong start in the morning. The 5 a.m. club, therefore, is a set of principles and practices for our morning routine that we should automate. Quote, take excellent care of the front end of your day, and the rest of your day will pretty much take care of itself. Own your morning, elevate your life, end quote. Rising at 5 a.m. must be cultivated as a habit. And I know that many of us, myself included, may struggle to get up at that time. Sharma speaks to this. And because habits are born of identity, he says that identity is better changed gradually. Setting alarms for 5 a.m. when one is used to getting up at 8 may not be doable at all. Instead, a gradual change would be better. So basically, what Sharma is saying that even before you start to put in place the principles and practices after 5 a.m., first get into the habit of getting up at 5 a.m. in the first place. Once you are consistently getting up at 5, then the next 1 hour or 2 hours in my case, could be used to build yourself and your life into something better. Obviously, getting up at 5 a.m. is not really the point. It's what you do between that and the time you start engaging with the world is what matters. Say, you need to start engaging with the world at 7 a.m., then getting up at 5 a.m. or getting into action at 5 a.m. really gives you 2 hours of uninterrupted focus. If you consistently engage in practices that elevate you, mind, body, and spirit, during those early hours, then superior results are guaranteed. Routinizing the right habits is the name of the game. Getting up at 5 a.m., therefore, is what the author calls a keystone habit. That is a foundational habit that has a disproportionately positive impact on many other areas of your life. It's like the first domino in a row. By changing this one habit, that is getting up at 5 a.m. when the world is quiet and you can focus, it sets off a chain reaction that leads to the development of other good habits and positive outcomes. This term, keystone habit, was popularized by Charles Duhigg in his book, The Power of Habit. Why get up at 5 a.m.? Let's talk about this. Sharma calls the time between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. the victory hour. During the victory hour, the world is still quiet, and the daily demands of our lives, whether they be work commitments or family work, have not yet emerged. The overstimulation and the noise of the modern world are still a few hours away. This solitude gives us time to think and reflect on where we are steering our ship. Calling it transient hypofrontality, Sharma points that this time of quietude silences that part of our brain which is responsible for rumination and constant worrying. So the wiser and more creative part of yourself can take the wheel for a bit. Your brain waves shift from beta to alpha and sometimes even theta state, and dopamine and serotonin get released while cortisol decreases, especially if you follow the 20-20-20 protocol, which is coming up later. All this means that you are more likely to enter the state known simply as flow. If you want to learn more about how to activate flow, please refer to my Lessons from the Art of Impossible by Stephen Kotler. It is a detailed guide on how you can activate flow increasingly in your life. So, I have spoken about how getting up at 5 a.m. has benefits and is a keystone habit, which will have disproportionate impact on the rest of your life if you're able to use it properly. But I still haven't told you about how do you actually get up at 5 a.m. Well, as I said earlier, rising at 5 is about making it a habit, making it automatic, more importantly. Automatic to the point that you forget that there is any other time other than 5 a.m. to be getting out of bed. And just like any other habit, it will need to follow the habit loop to embed itself. A cue will need to be present. A cue in this case will be an alarm clock. The author says that we should invest in a high quality but old school alarm clock. And this cue will trigger a desire for a reward, which will lead to a behavior which Sharma says should be leaping out of bed, which leads to the reward itself. For instance, your morning coffee. You have to decide how you reward yourself. So, cue leads to desire, desire leads to behavior, behavior leads to reward, and the reward reinforces the connection between the cue and itself, making it more likely that you will repeat the behavior when the cue presents itself in the future. This repetition is the key to automaticity. If you find yourself snoozing your alarm and drifting back to sleep, then it either means that your reward for getting up early is not good enough, or your willpower is not strong enough. Like I said, the reward is the important part here. You need to define your reward that you'll be getting for getting up early. You will not get up early if you cannot link it to a reward. Now, a reward need not be a tangible thing like a piece of dark chocolate or your favorite coffee. These can act as rewards, but it need not be a tangible thing all the time. It could be something like the bragging rights over your friends or the powerful feeling that comes from owning your morning. Whatever the reward, it has to work for you. You can choose more than one reward if you want. But the point is, the reward must be clear and you must feel a real connection to the reward. Only then will the cue, that is getting up at 5 a.m., trigger in you the desire for the reward and make it more likely that you follow through on the getting up at 5 a.m. part. The second part of getting up at 5 a.m. is definitely about willpower, or grit, as some may call it. Willpower is like a muscle. And the way to build it is to voluntarily put yourself into situations of discomfort. The author calls these strengthening scenarios. Learn to love pain and be comfortable being uncomfortable. Though you can learn how to do this from all kinds of humans, such as Buddhists, army personnel, elite athletes, and so on, it's as simple as foregoing pleasures you've grown accustomed to over time. For instance, you could sleep one night of every fortnight without any fans or air conditioning in peak summer season, or sleep without a blanket in peak winters. You could fast every week, or you could sleep on the floor once in a while. Quote, each time you vote for your superior self, you starve your weaker self and feed your inherent power. End quote. This way you build your willpower. You get used to a little bit of discomfort. And in that way, in building up the willpower muscles, you are more likely to follow through on getting up at 5 a.m. The role of neuroplasticity is also important here. Neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. As you may have heard, neurons that fire together wire together, also known as the Hebbian theory. It means that when two neurons are repeatedly activated at the same time, the connection between them becomes stronger. This makes it easier for them to activate together in the future. This is how learning occurs, and it's also how habits are formed. When you repeatedly perform a new action, such as waking up at 5 a.m., or meditating, or going to the gym, you're consistently activating a specific set of neurons. And with each repetition, the connections between those two neurons becomes stronger. Eventually, this strengthened neural pathway becomes the default, making the action feel automatic and requiring less conscious effort. Like I said, you want to achieve a point where getting up at 5 a.m. feels the default action, where you think that you cannot get up at any other time apart from 5 a.m. You want to make it automatic. Getting to this automaticity point of getting up at 5 a.m., Sharma lays out a habit installation protocol, which basically states that it'll take you roughly 66 days to get to the automaticity point and into a habit of getting up in time for the victory hour. Like I said, the victory hour is the time between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. In those 66 days, you will go through 3 stages, each 22 days long. The first stage, from day 1 to 22, your old identity and hence your habits start to die in this phase. You're used to, let's say, getting up at 7 or 7:30, and now you're getting up at 5. So your old habits are dying, and your old identity as someone who gets up at 7:30 is also dying. And they don't die easy. They put up a fight. And you start questioning whether getting up at 5 a.m. is all that great after all. The next stage, from day 23 to 44, is installation. The old identity is going, or almost gone, after 21, 22 days, but the new one is not there yet. Your brain is changing at a neuronal level. You're still not sure of why you're getting up at 5 a.m., and the pull of your bed is strongest. Here, it is important to persist. The third and final stage, from day 44 to 66 and beyond, is integration. Finally, your new identity as someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. and does meaningful work is established, or is now finally getting established. You regularly get up at 5 a.m., not because of the alarm clock, because now that is who you are. You see, your identity is now someone who gets up at 5 a.m. and takes charge of the day. So that was the habit installation protocol. Let's move on to one more thing, which is basically what happens the night before. Because you see, while the climax of the battle to get up at 5 a.m. happens in the morning, the fight actually starts in the evening before. If you're going to sleep late or you're going to sleep stressed, either mentally or physically, then you will not be able to get up at 5 a.m. consistently enough for it to become a habit. Therefore, protect your sleep and sleeping ritual. That is why all the powerful and composed people that I know are very careful and very possessive of their sleep. And indeed, with authors like Matthew Walker and books like Why We Sleep or Sleep Smarter, the importance of sleep has been highlighted in the past decade. This is a really good thing. Anyway, Sharma calls this the pre sleep ritual of iconic producers. And he outlines the specific steps you should take to ensure that you're going to bed in time, to ensure that you rise in time the next morning. It includes steps like disconnecting from technology, when your last meal should be, and more. The importance of sleep should not be lost on you. The battle to getting up at 5 a.m. may reach the climax at 5 a.m., but actually starts the previous day. That is important. Finally, a few other tips about ensuring consistent 5 a.m. wake up time. Have a group of friends or family members with whom you're installing the new habit together. Since we are social creatures, highly sensitive to our place in society, if we are doing something with others, our reputation gets involved and makes it easier to follow through. Next, teaching others about the virtues of getting up early will make you likely to practice what you preach. So teach others. Next, keep your workout clothes by the door and other similar cues that remind you of the actions you need to take after waking up. And the moment you wake up, rapidly create distance between you and your bed. Sharma points to the absolute importance of creating rapid distance and leaping out of bed the moment you get up. Because if you are going to take it slow, if you're going to drag yourself out of bed, the pull of the bed is so strong that you're going to go back in. You can help this by placing your alarm clock on the far side of the room so that you have to walk some distance. And when you do not get back in bed. Do something, move to a different place in the house or go outside the house, but create rapidly physical distance between you and your bed. If you want to learn more about how to create habits, how to form new habits, and how to break old ones, if you want to learn more about the 4 laws of behavior change, I have reviewed James Clear's Atomic Habits on sunchaser.live. Please refer to my lessons from Atomic Habits on sunchaser.live. So now we have spoken of how one gets up at 5 a.m. And let's say you, after 66 days or so, are regularly getting up at 5 a.m. What do you do now? What are the actions that you need to take after getting up at 5 a.m. and through the rest of the day? Because if all you're going to do after waking up at 5 is checking your phone, then you might as well go back to bed. The victory hour is not a time of passive consumption, but active creation. During this time, you need to take high leverage actions. High leverage actions are those that produce significantly more results in the future than the time and effort invested in them now. They are about working smart, not just hard. This aligns with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, which suggests that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. High leverage actions are those within that crucial 20%. Examples of high leverage actions are planning and prioritization through the day, deep work or creative work, learning and skill development, exercise and mindfulness. These and many other examples like these have a disproportionate impact on your day and your future. In that way, they are high leverage. A small amount of time and effort invested in them today leads to disproportionate and high amount of results later on. Contrast these with low leverage actions such as checking social media or your messages or your email the first thing in the morning. Very bad idea. I have learned from hard experience how checking email, especially early in the morning, for me at least, robs me of the early morning peace and energy that I always had. Catching up on the news is another low leverage activity. News, I say in quotation marks, because like I said before, most of the news today is designed to keep us in a constant state of fear or getting caught up in administrative trivia. Another low leverage activity. There is time for cleaning up your inbox and a time for making sure that your receipts are in order. But 5 a.m., the victory hour, is not that time. So be careful that you're not engaging in low leverage activities early in the morning and only doing high leverage actions. And Sharma has given us a full plan on how to only take high leverage actions. He calls this the 20-20-20 formula, wherein you break down your victory hour into 3 pockets of 20 minutes each. The first pocket of 20 minutes, in this one, you will move. You will engage in exercise that makes you sweat. This will release dopamine, serotonin, it'll control cortisol, it'll catalyze BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And in this time, you must also remember to hydrate well. But basically, the first thing that you're doing after waking up at 5 a.m. is moving, making sure that you're getting that energy going, making sure that you're sweating and getting ready and charged up for the day and releasing all of those positive and happy hormones in the process. That is the first part, the first pocket of 20 minutes. The next pocket of 20 minutes in your victory hour is reflect. In this one, you think about how you want to show up in the day ahead, what you want to achieve, and how you want to feel. You can create what the author calls a pre-performance blueprint, which is a written statement of your ideal day ahead. Take about 10 minutes to do this, but don't exceed that limit to ensure that only the most important and hence top of mind things get in. You can also use this time to get your first thoughts of the day into a journal, daily diaries as the author calls them. And you can use the remaining time in this pocket to meditate. So that was pocket number 2, where you reflect and think about what you want to do through the day, and you spend a little bit of time in meditation. And finally, the third pocket is grow. The last 20 minutes, you activate your growth mindset. Know that growth and change are not only possible, but natural. And you spend this pocket learning about something that will make you better at your craft. Think about podcasts, audiobooks, paper books, research papers, mental models, and so on. So that's the third pocket, grow. In this way, you spend 20 minutes each. 20 minutes to move, 20 minutes to reflect, 20 minutes to grow in your victory hour. Your victory hour, by the way, need not strictly be 60 minutes long. Sharma encourages us to customize it according to our needs and life stage. I personally engage in focused work for 2 hours, from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. before engaging with the world at large. It is when right now I'm recording this podcast. So it's completely up to you. You have to customize what works for you. The author also talks about what the rest of the day should look like once you're done with your victory hour, leading up to the nighttime routine. So he has provided us a complete breakdown of what our day should look like, how we can remove mindless activity from the day, and how we can live every day with intent. He calls this the amazing day deconstruction. And please visit Robin Sharma's website or buy the book to learn more about this. It's really packed with a lot of insights. Now, consistently following the 20-20-20 formula will give you what Sharma calls a GCA, a gargantuan competitive advantage. And you may be thinking, how will my competitive advantage be gargantuan when I'm only spending 20 minutes doing these things? Well, the progress that you make in a single hour is only so much. That is true. But over time, it compounds. And that is why Sharma tells us to do these things, to get up at 5 a.m., to follow the 20-20-20 formula consistently. He says, quote, small, daily, seemingly insignificant improvements when done consistently over time yield staggering results, end quote. Very much echoing what James Clear is talking about in his book, Atomic Habits. This idea requires patience and a long-term perspective. So really the 5 a.m. Club in that way is a book for those who are patient and can put in consistent effort. Do the work, hold the vision, and trust the process. Next, let's talk about how elite performers think and act. Peppered through much of the book are frameworks and concepts that Sharma posits are helpful in building an extraordinary life. such as, quote, all pro athletes have peak performance coaches, and so do all extraordinary business people, end quote. These do not directly fit into the 2020 formula, but are important scaffolding nonetheless. What I will share with you now is merely a snapshot of those concepts. Like I said, the book is filled with these insights, and a 40-minute podcast is not going to do much justice to them. So remember, these are just snapshots. I would encourage you to please visit Robin Sharma's website or buy the book to learn more. That said, let's start with the 2x, 3x mindset. Over here, Robin Sharma is saying that if you want to double your income and impact from where it is today, then you must triple your investment in your professional capability, which are your skills, and your personal mastery, which is your self-control. That is the 2x, 3x mindset. Next, 5 golden rules. The 5 golden rules are: protect your attention. Do not let it be distracted. Exit the fixed mindset. You can transform through consistent effort. Consistency leads to automaticity. An extraordinary life needs extraordinary commitment. Persist when you feel like quitting. So those were the 5 golden rules. Next, elite performers have a desire for detail. They love to go deep and really understand the nuances of their work and their craft. The desire for detail is what separates the top 5% from the other 95%, and you'll be able to do this over the long term only if you truly love your craft. But going granular does lead to better awareness, which leads to better choices, which then deliver better results. So, if you want to be truly world-class in anything, have an obsession for detail. Another obsession you should have is over quality. Elite performers always demand superior quality of work from themselves and others. And that only comes from going granular, like I said before. They consider every work that they do carries their personal name and reputation, and therefore do not leave things half-baked. Learn the importance of being around only the highest quality. This is not merely about the external, that is, owning items of quality make, but also internal. The thoughts you think, the effort you put in, the actions you perform, and the work you create should be first rate for the level at which you are. It is also about choosing the people you want to hang out with, the people who elevate you. Like Jordan Peterson said in his book, The 12 Rules for Life, we should be with those people who want the best for us. It also is about choosing to consume high quality foods, whether they be for the body or for the mind. All in all, what Sharma is saying is that elite performers know that life is far too precious to waste away on mediocrity. Next, Sharma talks about the twin cycles of elite performance. You see, top performers deliberately oscillate between periods of intense work and periods of rest, what Naval Ravikant has called working like a lion. They engage in something called a HEC, a high excellence cycle. Here, they will work intensely, tuning out all distractions for a period of time so that they can sustain and deliver high quality work. And then they will move on to a DRC, which is a deep refueling cycle. Here, they will rest and recharge with activities like mindfulness, nature walks, and they will not eat junk food or engage in junk activities such as scrolling social media. So even in their deep refueling cycle, they're being very careful about what they're refueling with. But that was the twin cycles of elite performance. And indeed, I can reflect on this having heard the same sentiment across social media and in several books. You need to oscillate like a heartbeat between periods of intense work and periods of rest. Work like a lion, do focused work for 60 minutes or 90 minutes, whatever you can sustain. And when you're done, take 15 minutes, 20 minutes to relax, lie down, or engage in deep conversations with friends and family, really recover and oscillate between these two cycles, what the author calls the twin cycles of elite performance. Next, Sharma moves on to the 5-3-1 creed of the willpower warrior. He wants us to recognize the 5 truths that people with high willpower have, which is number 1, growth mindset is real. Number 2, willpower is a muscle. Number 3, recovery is critical. Number 4, habits follow a loop. And number 5, increasing self control in one area of your life elevates it in all other areas of your life. He wants us to remember the 3 values of people with high willpower, which is consistency and persistence. Number 2, finish what you started so that you can respect yourself. And number 3, practice and put in the hard work. And finally, he wants us to remember the one theory that we should always have in mind, that the people with high willpower always have in mind, which is when you want to quit but persist, that is when you become a warrior. Next, Sharma talks about the 4 focuses of history makers, starting with number 1, capitalization IQ. This is basically about having a growth mindset and intelligently exploring the talents that have been bestowed upon you. Leaving the victim mindset is how you move on to capitalization IQ. Basically, have the IQ to capitalize on what your gifts are. That is what people who make history are keenly aware of. Whatever the hand they've been dealt, they try to make the best of the situation. As Arthur Ashe said, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Next, freedom from distraction. History makers are very protective of their time. Number 3, personal mastery practice. We have already spoken of this in the 20-20-20 formula. Basically, all history makers have dedicated time where they spend effort in becoming masters of their craft. They know the importance of enhancing their mindset, which is their psychological health, their heart set, which is their emotional health. Sharma says that if we are carrying baggage from our past about how we were wronged and about how somebody hurt us, then we cannot move on as quickly into the future and into a better life. So these people, these history makers, are very careful about enhancing their heart set, which is their emotional health. They're also careful about enhancing their health set. Sharma is clear in pointing out that health is the only true wealth. So history makers are very careful about making sure they put in the exercise, that they put in the hours at the gym to have a body that supports their incredible life. And finally, history makers are careful about enhancing their soul set, which is their spiritual health, which is their connection with a higher power, which is their philosophy, which is their spirituality, which is their meditation practice. And in this way, in enhancing their mindset, their heart set, their health set, and their soul set, history makers deliberately and intelligently cultivate a personal mastery practice. The final thing that history makers do is day stacking. They construct their day so that one productive part of the day leads to another productive part or a recovery part, and they do not have any space for meaningless distractions. Next, Sharma talks about the 10 tactics of lifelong genius. Some of these terms you will not understand, and for that, like I said before, please consider buying the book. Number 1, tight bubble of total focus. Number 2, 90-90-1 rule. Number 3, the 60-10 method. Number 4, the daily 5. Number 5, the second wind workout. Number 6, 2 massage protocol. Number 7, traffic university. Number 8, dream team technique. Number 9, weekly design system. Number 10, 60-minute student. These are the 10 tactics of lifelong genius. Next, Sharma talks about protecting the 5 assets of genius. The 5 assets of genius are mental focus, physical energy, personal willpower, original talent, and daily time. Next, Sharma talks about the 7 virtues of world changers. That is bravery, humility, integrity, forgiveness, understanding, sincerity, and politeness. And finally, Sharma talks about the 11 billionaire maxims. First, improve your relationship with yourself, what Jordan Peterson has called getting your own house in order. Number 2, collect rare experiences, not things. Number 3, choose courage. reminds me of Ryan Holiday's Courage is Calling book. Number 4, your thoughts, feelings, words, and deeds are powerful. Do not ignore their power to create your reality. Number 5, avoid those who drain your energy. Number 6, keep an abundance mindset. Number 7, health is the true wealth. Number 8, always reach for the next level. Number 9, make people feel better about themselves. Number 10, heaven is not a place, but a state of mind. And number 11, postponing doing the right thing is postponing your peace. Sharma also talks about protecting yourself against the dark side of genius. He introduces this concept, suggesting that exceptional talent or drive often come with a shadow side. Sharma acknowledges that many highly accomplished individuals have experienced difficulties in their personal lives, suggesting that achieving exceptional success may sometimes involve sacrifices in other areas. He points out that many creative geniuses and high performers were out of balance, exhibiting traits like perfectionism, maverick behavior, or even fanaticism. Sharma basically is saying that the very qualities that fuel greatness in one area can create challenges in another area. And often the other area is your personal life. And therefore, his key point is that instead of suppressing your gifts, you should be aware instead of these potential downsides. Be aware of these downsides, of the dark side of genius, of the dark side of obsession, and in doing so, manage them. Limit the downsides so that you get the benefits of the obsession over quality and the relentless pursuit of growth, but not too much of the drawbacks. In closing, it is clear that Sharma has written the book not just to instruct but also to inspire. It is peppered with quotes from the greats. It gives handy tips on how to create a winning mindset and constantly reminds the reader that the world today is designed to take away their agency. It is a shallow world, and therefore one should remain vigilant of being caught in the rat race of mediocrity. It is impossible to go through a chapter and not come across an impassioned appeal from the author to rise above the average, to lead the way. I cannot do justice to how well the narrative is intertwined with the instructions to elevate your life. The book must be read to be realized. And every time I read the book, every time I go through my notes, I feel energized to use this gift of life for the creation of something better. I'm a little surprised that the book hasn't gained as much popularity. I mean, I know it's a popular book, but it's not as popular, I would think, as something like an Atomic Habits was. And that's very interesting to me because, like I said, this book, in terms of its content, is the book that will likely give you the highest ROI, or at least a very high ROI compared to other books in its class, because it has concepts from multiple other books, such as Grit by Duckworth, Mindset by Dweck, Atomic Habits by Clear, Flow by Csikszentmihalyi, Emergence by Riddle, to name a few. Sharma has really packed this one to the gills, and I wonder, is that the reason it's not so popular? That it is so dense that you are maybe a little scared of it, reading it, or you feel overwhelmed with all of these concepts and principles and practices? Like I said, I only covered a snapshot, and even then, this has become close to a 1-hour podcast. So maybe that's the reason the book is not that popular. In any case, if you do make the effort to go through the book, it is really very high ROI on your time. Like I said, Sharma has packed this one to the brim. If you're new to the journey of incrementally improving your life, incrementally improving the quality of your life, I think this book does present a very good starting point. In the end, all I'll say is that the 5 a.m. Club will remain on my coffee table for a long time, dog-eared, pages frayed, and well-thumbed from multiple readings each time, which I know will make me remember what a truly lucky human being I am to wake up at 5 and do good work. It's a masterpiece all the way. And until next time, Sunchaser.